Hi, everyone. Welcome back to why my mind just went completely blank, but you know what? We're going to keep rolling with it. But we're stepping up into the weekend and we're bringing that weekend vibe and how can we do things a little bit differently. And today we're going to talk about leading by example, stepping out of your comfort zone. And so, how do we step out of our comfort zone? And a lot of times it comes, no, my screen just went blank. Are you still there?
I'm here.
Okay, well, you start talking. My screen's completely blank right now.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, stepping out of your comfort zone and leading by
Out of
example.
mine.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
I can hear you and I can see you on my end.
All right, let's go for it.
Okay. So, leading by example and stepping out of your comfort zone, I think those are very two difficult things to do at the same time. It's almost like you have to go through one before you can transition to the other. I mean, I can talk about one of my personal struggles. I have been struggling to step out of my comfort zone and getting in front of the camera. I feel like I need help or I need somebody to have dialogue with, that I just am not comfortable looking at that black hole all by myself, thinking that I'm talking to a whole bunch of people. It's definitely something that I personally struggle with.
I have to completely agree with that. It's a new mindset when you start doing something like that and talking to the screen and not realizing who's on the other end because it's so much easier that we have that kind of conversation with each other. And I think that's why we even like said, let's do this and let's set it up for the weekend because though we're looking for people who are just how do we have that shift for okay, now we have this work mindset, now we're going to go into our weekend. How do we shift that into getting stepping out of our comfort zone? Because sometimes, I mean, it's when we feel truly alive, or at least for myself, it's when I'm making connections with new people, or not even new people, but making genuine connections, not that superficial kind of conversation that I'm so tired of talking about the weather or what our kids are doing, especially for moms and stuff, right? So how do we get into that as we're going to the weekend, thinking about that, and how do we have more of those kind of conversations?
Well, I think if we could take a moment and reflect on how we parent and or coach, our kids, our friends, our loved ones, on how to face their fears and step out of their comfort zone, maybe we could take a piece of our own advice and try to apply it to ourselves. And, I think that definitely helps in humbling. It definitely helps in understanding what the steps are and what it actually like requires to get through that uncomfortable space. And that is like the transition of leading by example.
I love that because it's I was saying my screens are back on, by the way. But it was like completely black when we first just started. Like I think I might have been doing too much with that computer. My computer's like, take a step back. And sometimes we need to do that as well when we're stepping out of comfort zones is take baby steps. But at the same time, sometimes it is easier when you have that pool in front of you, you're like, let me just jump straight in and not like put my feet in the and down the steps, right? So it's kind of embracing that when you have the momentum to do it. So you take that first step, it's going to keep creating more momentum. So I want to throw this out to you guys is what are some things that you've been thinking about trying, but just have been a little bit reluctant to try? Is there anything you can think of that you've been reluctant to do besides getting on camera since you're here now with me?
um Ah, I think it's more of discipline. It's not that I've been reluctant to do certain things. I think that it's just about time management and disciplining myself to like create a structured I don't even want to say routine, but staying disciplined in a structured space to focus on something. So I'm not multitasking like I'm cleaning, but instead like multitasking on the one topic so I can get it done within that time frame. Because all too often, I feel like when we're doing things to grow our business, grow our family, create, culture organization within our home, ourselves, or whatever, there's so many layers and components that are required in order for that to happen that it gets hard to tie it all in without realizing that, that there's steps that need to be taken before you can just compile everything together. And it's like we apply, if we can apply that same methodology across the board, I think we'd be a lot in a lot better space.
True, but we have to keep in mind we are still human, right? So on that note, it's what drives us, and I wanted to kind of get at is that for me at least, it's when I am experiencing something and really feeling alive, and sometimes that is something that a lot of the time is it is when I'm jumping out of my comfort zone because it's like I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't think I could do that, and then you walk past it and or walk into that fear rather than let it hold you back. And I feel once you get through it, then you're like, oh, that wasn't so bad. But sometimes it's the thoughts that we get putting through our head. There was an example of I was listening to a podcast and she was just talking about how much she hates to put dishes away. And all of a sudden she's like, well, how long does it really take me to empty the dishwasher? She's like, it's 3 minutes. I've been letting 3 minutes of my time like haunt my head for how long? And I feel like we do that sometimes is that when we don't step out of our comfort zone or step into, like as you were saying, the things that we need to, but we let that space occupy our mind and we let that sit with us instead of just having it done. And so sometimes it is just putting a clock to it or seeing what it is to take to do that momentum. And it's like, oh, that's what's been holding me back this whole time. Is something that takes me 2 minutes or 5 minutes or even 10 minutes. But then it's knowing sometimes how long that takes you to then push you forward. For instance, getting Agape to come on here live with me, right? We're like, we can do this. We can do 15, 20 minutes. We're done. She's like, I can? Really? Just like that? Here we are.
Yes.
Feeling.
Right. And and on that note, and thank you for putting it in that perspective, because most recently, as you were a part of my very first event ever, I was so nervous. And how long do we plan for a 3-hour event? I mean, months, weeks, and I was a nervous wreck. And I only spoke for 20 minutes. And it's like, I was super nervous. I was, there was a lot of things going on in the mind space, like you're saying. And then I realized, like, when you can look back at the recording or, whatever you remember if you didn't record, as long as you're taking lessons learned on, like, it's positive critiquing, constructive criticism, not, bashing yourself. You're like, okay, you know what? Yeah, the topics were good. I could have did this better. I could have expanded on that. It's all about like just tweaking. You have to, if you are playing, if you want to win the lottery, you need to play to win, right? So same concept. If you want to be, successful or get visibility or, put your brand out there or talk about your mission, you have to get it in front of people. And, it's the means to the way.
It does feel scary, but again, and we're sitting here like, oh my gosh, you've done this. My screen just went black and all this stuff happened, but you just can't let it stop you. And then the more you do it, the more you problem suit and then eventually have your team or whoever helps you doing the things. But it takes that first step. It takes that action of actually doing it. And again, it's that fear. Just think of that fear right in front of you. And almost give it a name, give it a picture. Like, what can I do to break through it? Say it's a brick wall, and I'm just gonna go punch through it and get to the other side. Because a 5-minute video, doing something, staying in front of a few people and just starting. It's a process. But I just want to call you out as if you do have that passion inside of you and you have that nudge of something needs to come out. That's your call. And if you want to answer it, that's what's going to bring you fulfillment, is answering that call and getting out there. And so when you go into the weekend, you're thinking, oh, my work week's done. I'm going to relax. And yes, do the relaxing part. But at the same time, let your brain process, is there a nudge in me? If so, what am I going to do about it? Where is that going to take me? Who do I need to help this nudge come out? Because that's I think what we're both in the same wavelength, is that we want to call people out who have more to give back. And to spread these messages that are inside of each other. Each of us has a different message, a different way of saying it. And are you answering that calling? And I had no idea that this conversation would go this way.
And I was just thinking while you were saying that, I was like, and here we are leading by example.
But I was like, again, it's funny when you have these more in-depth conversations, what actually comes out of you and those ideas. And That's why one of the things I'm doing is really trying to define what a women's circle is and how that conversation is, but it's more of these deep type of conversations that happen more often. And then you realize stuff comes out of you that you were not even expecting, because I honestly had no idea what direction this conversation would go. But when you're speaking from the heart and speaking from the direction, not even thinking about, just letting it come out, that's the direction it needs to go. And I think we just need to do more of that in our conversations and releasing what we need to out of us. And again, if you have that nudge in you, I'm with Agape, and I are both calling you out right now. Start following the nudge.
That's right. That's right. And you're going to feel uncomfortable. It's totally normal. And the more you continue doing it, the more desensitized you become of that uncomfortableness, and you'll soon be confident, and you'll know how to just let it flow, like we are finally doing. It didn't happen overnight, guys. It really didn't. It took us a while. So
So I want to recap a little bit with you guys before we, I know Agape has an event she wants to share, and I want to share one thing as well, but I just want to recap some of the things again. Think of fear as give it a name, give it something that you can break through. Like, give it something, put it in front of you, brick wall. I don't know. Do you have any ideas? What would you visualize it as?
yeah, I mean, you have to first acknowledge what is stopping you. And if it's your fear, or what if it's your psyche, that's like, if you feel like you're confident and ready to go, and then something just prevents you from doing it, start identifying what those distractions are. What are you allowing to distract you or prevent you from taking that leap? And once you acknowledge what it is you have to confront it. Because if you don't confront it, you're not going to be able to overcome it.
The step number one. And then step number two is when you start doing the activity, whatever it is, start putting a time frame on it. Right now, we just said we're going to do this for 15-20 minutes and we're done. And then that way we can become a routine of it. And again, we are imperfectly showing up right now because we know there's lots of glitches right now. We acknowledge that, and you guys can acknowledge it for us. That's okay. But this is our learning curve.
That's right. That's
And
right.
if no one
And
watches it, then it's still practice for us.
that's right.
We know some of you are out there watching it.
That's right. Thank you so much.
So tell us about your event coming up, Agape, and how people can get a hold of you, because you got a big month
Oh,
ahead of you.
oh yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. So October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and I have two different organizations. I have a nonprofit. Confronting Domestic Violence is the name. Our mission is to help real-time victims with real-time resources, providing relocation services to them when they have a safe place to go, but not the means to get there. And to support and really uphold to those moms out there and connecting mamas. I have an unwavering belief that, our children learn and have a brighter future ahead when they feel safe at home. And so on October 7th, I have a virtual event taking place online. It's an actual virtual reality platform. So if you go to Confronting DV on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn, you will see the flyer out there, registration and opportunities to volunteer or contribute in any way that you possibly can.
Yay. I always I love what you're supporting, because I really feel the same way. Is we can't grow if we don't feel safe. And so
Yeah.
that kind of leads me into Connecting Mamas. What I want to do is create a safe environment for moms who want to ignite their teen, who have that nudge and want to answer it, but don't really know how to do it. Because I believe that most of the great ideas that women have die in infancy. They die when they share that idea out loud and someone says, oh, that's not quite right, or you should do it this way, or whatever it is that is told to you by an outside force, but no one else but you has that vision. And so I want to create that environment where they can be fostered, that you're not afraid to share that out there and get ideas that will feed your idea, not diminish it. So we got to keep our lights protected, and we need to find that community and not share our ideas until we're ready to share them, or find the right place to share them. And so I want to create that environment so that we as women are supporting each other and lifting each other in creating this world just a better place because of these ideas that are in there, those nudges that are in there, because that is your passion. That is what you need to be shining your light on in this world. And so come check me out at connectingmamas.com and we'll get you set up. And I'm actually finally just opened up my own Facebook group for the first time. I've been putting it off, different reasons why, but see me in there as well. on Connecting Mamas in the Facebook realm. And we'll see you next time, next week. Bye, everyone.